Hi there, Nigel Saunders of KW Bonsai here. Today I've got all my Ficus Religiosas out on the bench here, and we're going to be repotting them. In one of the recent videos, we potted this small Ficus Religiosa Bonsai into this new pot, and I wasn't very happy with the root base on it. It had been left go too long, and the roots weren't doing what I'd like them to do. They weren't in a nice radial root base. So it got me thinking I better start checking all my other Ficus Religiosas and make sure I've got the roots going on them. It's important when a tree's young to get the roots going in a nice radial pattern. As I said, if you get them all sorted out, and as the tree ages, the surface roots will just get better and better. If you don't get them sorted out, the roots will just get worse. The tangled, thick roots going in the wrong direction will just get thicker and uglier. So it's important when the tree's young to sort the roots out. So I've got a lot of Ficus Religiosas here, ranging from my tallest one to my smallest one, and I'm going to do some repotting. I'm going to start with my largest Ficus, and we had picked another front for it, which was kind of about here. So we're going to repot it with that as the new front. This tree was repotted 2 years ago, and there's a video on that. I've put a little wire marker where the approximate front of the tree will be, so when we get it out of the pot we'll know where to locate it. Our first step will be to get the tree out of the pot. It will be interesting to see what's happened with the roots over the last 2 years. I'm hoping we've got a nice set of surface roots to show. This tree doesn't have any aerial roots, and I think it's because I just haven't had enough vigor in the canopy yet. It's just been too sparse up top. So I think as we get a nice canopy, we'll start getting a lot of aerial roots growing down from the trunk. Okay, let's see if I can get it out. Ah yeah, there we go. So let's have a look. Fairly dry down here. Not too bad. We have a nice brick of roots. Let's remove our drainage screens. There we go. And it looks like I had some coarse gravel in the bottom. I'll have to get that all out. We're just working getting all this gravel out from the bottom. I've got all the gravel removed from the bottom of the root base, so the next step will be combing it out. The ideal time to repot tropical trees is in the middle of the summer. So towards the end of July for me. This gives the first half of the summer for the tree to gain vigor, and then the second half of summer it gives it a chance to recover from its repotting. So it keeps the tree really healthy. So the roots are looking good so far. So I'm going to flip the tree over now and start working on the bottom. Again, we always start from the center of the tree and comb outwards. There, I think we can wash the roots now. Our next step will be combing the roots out again. We want to get all the tangles out, combed out to a nice radial pattern, and then we'll see what roots we have to trim to relocate it in the pot in a different direction with a new front, and trim the roots on the bottom to get a nice flat bottom to the root base. That's looking good. There is something on the bottom. Let's have a look at the bottom here. Let's start trimming the bottom. Looks like there's a lot of roots that have grown down there. So here we are on the bottom. We're going to prune away all these roots that are growing straight down, ones that aren't going in a radial pattern. Our neighbor is cracking his bullwhip. That's that sound you can hear. So there's no major roots growing straight down or anything. We've got them pretty well sorted out. It'll just be a matter of pruning all the root hairs off and getting it as flat as we can on the bottom. We've got our roots flat on the bottom, or as flat as we can get them. Now it's time to start looking at the top, sorting out any roots that we don't like. You'll see as you get your root base better and better, there's less work to do on the surface roots. They grow in a nice radial pattern. So it's just a matter of trimming ones that are going in the wrong direction, ones that are getting too thick compared to the others, just to kind of fine-tune your root system. So I'm just looking for roots that I don't like. I will keep misting them as we work on them. There's not too many. They're in pretty good shape. I'm not seeing any drastically bad roots that need correcting, which is kind of nice. Bit of moss growing up the trees here, up the trunk. Let's give that a clean. Okay. Well, I think we'll just trim the roots to the pot. I think they're okay, and we'll just replant it. I've got the pot cleaned up, and I'm going to find the front of the tree, which is somewhere around here. And as you can see, because we've changed the tree from this orientation to this orientation, we have a lot of roots hanging out, and on the sides we have lots of room for root growth. So we've got to go in and prune our roots to fit our pot. So I'm going to do that. I want to position the tree slightly back in the pot, which means I'll have to take more roots off the back and less off the front. I'm trying to cut horizontally when I prune my roots. That gives a nice, the roots will fan out from your cuts. And we'll take some off the front. That's fitting in the pot now, but we want to give the roots a little room to grow. We don't want them tight up against the edges of the pot. So we're going to have to prune back the back ones further. That looks good. Okay. Let's clean up and get our drainage screens in our pot and get ready for planting the tree. This time I'm not going to put my stone gravel layer in the bottom. This tree is kind of entering what I'd call phase 2 of the roots. I have all the surface roots the way I want them. So the next phase is the roots will grow in under the pot and fill the pot with roots for lots of vigor in the tree. My surface roots are kind of set now, so I probably won't be doing much work on the surface roots anymore in the life of this tree. So I'm just going to fill the pot with the regular bonsai soil, and we're going to position the tree. Now we have to determine a position for the tree, side to side, a height for the tree, and front to back we're pretty well set when we trim the roots to get it slightly to the back. So let's have a look here. It looks pretty good there. It's just slightly offset. I think that looks pretty good. Tree's vertical in both directions. Our height in the pot is good. Our position in the pot just slightly offset. We do have that one branch on the right hand side lower on the trunk that Kind of justifies our offset in the pot in the right direction. I think that's good. Let's fill it in. So there's lots of room in the pot for the roots to grow. Once the tree recovers, I think it'll really take off in growth. Once we have the really good vigor, we'll start to develop aerial roots on the tree. I'm going to work the soil into the roots. I have a new tool. It's a knitting needle, and it works really nicely. It's a little sharper than a chopstick. We'll leave our soil a little higher than we normally would, just to make sure all the roots are covered properly, so they don't dry out until they get growing down into the soil. There we go. Let's give it a water. The soil I use this time has more perlite in it and less organics. Because this tree is going in the greenhouse, I'm going to try a more porous mixture with less organics in it, and we'll see how it does. So that's one of the Ficus Religiosas repotted, our largest one. So let's go on to tree number 2. Our second Ficus Religiosa that we're going to be repotting today is this, it's kind of a short, squat broom style, or banyan style. So it's been growing in this large tall pot, which is really good for growth. But now it's time to slow the growth down, put it in a bonsai pot, and start refining the branch structure. So it's going to go from this tall training pot to a bonsai pot and start, more of serious styling on it. Our first step will be to get it out of the pot. And I don't think it'll be easy because this pot has a bit of an inner lip to it. So we're going to have to really try and get in there and pry it out. It's coming. There we go. Okay, let's start raking out the roots. I can't remember the last time this tree was repotted, which is never a good thing. It means it was too long ago. Lots of roots down low in this pot, or in this root ball. So it looks like we are getting some radial roots, which is good. Here's our drainage screen. Let's wash the roots and we'll clean up our work area and start root pruning. I've washed the roots. We can see what's going on now. So we do have sort of a radial root spread, but not really. You can see our root is kind of, I don't know, needs a lot of work. So let's start by, I think we're going to have to do some pretty severe root pruning here. Let's cut off everything growing downwards and stuff that's just not right. So I'm going to prune this large root that's taking a weird direction off. Some roots growing straight down we can remove. There's another one here, and there's one inside here. There's one over here that's growing straight down. So there's the bottom of our root base. So we don't have much on this side of the tree. Got a thick root on this side and a very thick one on this side. We've got a root here that's too high, so we can get rid of that. go. I'm not liking this root either. It kind of, instead of going into the soil nicely, it kind of sticks up. I think we're going to have to get rid of that. Somehow. Like that. There were some roots below it that are nice. So we're kind of down to the basics now, or as far as we can kind of reduce it. I am going to have to make a cut along the bottom here. There's a root growing in a weird direction, and I want it a little flatter on the bottom. So I'm coming in and cutting a slice off the bottom, like that. Next, we'll trim some of these other roots flat with the bottom also. Like that. And we'll trim any roots that are sticking up. And yes, I know it doesn't leave us with a whole lot of roots, but this is the right time of the year to do this. You have to have faith in your techniques. There. I think that's looking pretty good. Let's sits nicely, nice and flat. Let's clean up and we'll start planting the tree. I've got our pot with some soil in it, and next we have to pick a front for the tree. So based on the roots, this is not a bad front right here. The canopy's also not too bad from this view. Yeah, I think that's our only option, is kind of about there. So I think we'll put the pot to the right side a bit. It has thicker branches on the left side, so it'll kind of counterbalance that. And we'll just put it at a nice level in the pot, not too high, not too low. So we're going to need a little bit more of a mound of soil to put the tree on. And I'll position the tree. We'll just make sure our roots are all in position. What's left of them anyway. Okay. And let's fill it in with soil. These techniques can apply to any ficus. The temperatures for the next few days are going to be very warm at night, above 20 degrees Celsius. So it's a good time to repot tropicals when you've got nice warm temperatures for the trees to recover. What you don't want is to repot a tropical and then have the temperature drop really cold, because the tree will go dormant, its roots won't recover, and you could kill the tree. So you definitely want to wait until you've got nice warm summer temperatures to repot tropicals. Or if you have a nice warm plant room that's humid in the winter, you can do it then also. You just want to guarantee those nice temperatures for it to recover. Okay, we don't have to work it into the roots much because, again, there's not much roots there, and they're in a nice flat plane that the soil makes good contact with. So let's give the tree a water. Again, we've piled the soil on higher than we would if the tree were like a show tree or something. And that's just to make sure all the roots are down in the soil and they're not going to dry out. So later on we can, once the roots get established, we can reduce the soil level and plant some moss on top. So this tree will also be going in the greenhouse when we're done here. There we go. That's it for today's video. We've repotted a small ficus with a poor root system, a medium ficus with a medium quality root system, and a large ficus with a fairly good quality root system on it. So 3 different types of trees, or 3 trees at different stages in their bonsai life. We'll be following these trees as time goes on and doing updates. So Nigel Saunders of KW Bonsai, thanks for watching. Do something green today. Buy something that's locally made or made in your country. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.